Hey everyone, Wazoo here, and in this video we are going to be starting a bit of a series on creating your own 2D RPG project. Yeah, I've got an existing one in my video archive if you've come across it in the past, and while it is a really neat demo and startup of something, I felt there was a few problems with it, and I wanted to take a step back and think about a way to start something from scratch that would be a little bit more extensible and also a little friendlier for communicating how to add and work on certain bits of the game. So I've decided to create a new series that we're going to be starting right now, and this will be also a different approach from the other videos on my channel in that it is, instead of a really long 2 or 3 hour video, I'm going to break this into just tiny segments with a bit more of a focus on each segment, and hopefully that keeps things a little bit more focused on what you're watching, what you're following along with, and you can skip ahead to a different video in the project that you wanted to learn more about. Maybe that'll make it easier to navigate and learn how things are put together. So with all that rambling out of the way, let's get started on this project right here. I'm in Visual Studio 2022. I've created a new console app, and I've got a few basic empty source.c files set up here. I've got a game.c, a main.c, and a map.c, along with a centralized project.h header file. So let's go ahead and start right within project.h. And let's just flesh it out with some basic headers right here. So we're going to include Raylib. We're going to include standard IO and standard lib. We're going to include time.h and math.h. And finally string.h. And let's end it right here for now. Okay, then within main.c, we are going to be including project.h. And then we will type out our main function here. We'll return 0 by the end of it. And let's call init window. And for now, we'll just use a 800 by 600 window. And we'll call this the Raylib 2D ASCII RPG. We'll set our target FPS, our frame rate to 60. And we'll seed the random number generator. And then let's get into the main game loop. So while not window should close, let's update our game and draw our game. So we'll have a begin drawing. We'll clear background. Let's just use sky blue for the moment, and then end drawing. And then finally, outside of the main loop, let's call close window, and then we return. So let's just verify that our basic window shows up, everything compiles, Raylib works, and hooray. Okay, so let's go into the project.h and we'll add we'll move all of our game functions into the game.c file. So let's we'll declare game startup, game update, we'll call it game draw, why not, and game shutdown. Okay, we'll declare these 4 functions in the header file, and then in the game.c, let's include the project.h, paste these new functions. Okay. Now in the beginning of game startup, we don't need it for quite a while yet, but I usually like to initialize the audio device. We'll get that up right away, and in the shutdown, we'll close the audio device. That way we don't have to worry about it later. And then back in the main.c, we're going to cut and paste this draw code and put it in the game.c draw method there. So we'll have game draw, game update. We'll stick in our game startup and our game shutdown. Okay, good. So far, so good. Let's run it again. Quick check. Check, check. Everything works. Okay, now let's put a basic map together. So back in our project.h, right after the include files, let's define a few values here. So define, we're going to use a tile size of 32, and we are going to define a map width of 20 and a map height of 20. Okay, and then over in the map.c source file, let's go ahead and include project.h, and then let's declare a array to hold our map data. Okay, so we've got a basic map, a basic 2D array declared of type char, and we're using different characters here to symbolize our map. So we've got, maybe the mountains are the hashtag, water is the squiggly lines, maybe these hat things are mountains, and the dots are just regular terrain. And then let's declare a player structure. And let's put that at the top of game.c for now. So in project.h, right after the defines here, let's create a int x, y, and this will be our player, a little player structure. So back in the game, we'll define a player right here. And then in the startup, let's set our player to 2, 2. Let's see, can we initialize it like this? An x and y coordinates of 2 and 2. And then we've got our map defined here, and let's create a new function here, which will return a color depending on the tile. So get tile color. And this one will probably be updating as we add different tiles to our map. Okay, so if we have a hashtag and we want to return, let's return gray. And it's a wall here. So, and if it is a dot, then return dark green. Let's say grass. If it is a hat, then we'll return brown. We'll call that a mountain. Case squiggly line. Let's return blue. And this will be water. Otherwise, we'll just return white. Ray white. Okay, so then let's cut and paste this function signature here, and we'll copy it into project.h. So usually what I try to do is keep the function declarations sorted depending on their file that they're in. So this would be the game.c file. And in the map.c, let's declare our get tile color. And then let's make another function called draw map. and let's work on this right now. Okay, so we're going to give it we're going to be able to pass in an origin, which is a vector2 object. And basically what I'm trying to design is that in the future, we'll be able to shift our map around depending on where we want to draw it in the screen. So for now, our map is going to take up the entire screen, but eventually I want to make it a little more like Ultima, where you've got a map section on the left and then a UI, some kind of UI on the right. So let's draw our map and declare our origin there. And let's do a for loop. X is less than map width. X plus plus. And then, we'll grab the tile. And then we'll grab the color. Tile color equals get tile color tile. So far, so good. Then let's create a vector to hold the position of this tile. So vector2 position. So origin.x plus x times tile size. And then we'll have to add a little offset within the actual tile. Let's just do this. Plus 8 and origin.y plus y times tile size plus maybe something like 6. I'll show you what we're going to be doing here when we draw this. And then we'll use the draw text ex function. And we are going to use the default font. And then we're going to format the char into a string. We'll take the position. We'll use a font size of 24. We'll use 1 here, and then tile color. And that should be all we need for the map. Okay, well, maybe we don't need to move the player object to the map, but we can do a draw player function here. So draw player, and we're going to use a vector2 object as well as an origin. And let's just quickly copy that in here. Okay, and this is where we're just going to be drawing our @ symbol to represent our player. So we'll create a position, which is a vector2. Player.x times tile size plus 8. Origin.y plus player.y times tile size plus 6. Okay, and then we'll use the same draw text x function. We'll get the default font with Raylib. And we'll draw the @ sign. We'll declare that. We'll use that position that we just created. Font size of 24, 1, and yellow. Okay, so all that looks good. Okay, so now in the game update, when we use our keyboard, we're going to draw our map. Well, why don't we draw our map first? So in the game draw here, let's create an origin, which is a vector2, and then let's call draw map origin draw player origin. And we should see. Okay, so we've got our little map. We can't draw, or we can't move it around, sorry. And let's go back and fix this up. Okay, so we have our, let's change our background to black. We're clearing the background to black, sorry, in the main loop. And let's go ahead and in our init window, instead of an 800 by 600, let's call this, let's use map width times tile size. And then map underscore height times tile size. And then the name Raylib. Okay, so let's see how this looks. Okay. Let's just lower that map height to 15 so that it fits within the whole window. Okay, there we go. That's what I wanted.
Perfect.
All right. So we've got a basic window here, and we see our map showing up. And let's move the player around with the arrow keys. Or let's implement that. Is what I mean to say. Okay, so in the game loop, in game update, let's handle player movement. So if is key pressed, key right, and map player dot y player dot x plus 1 does not equal to hash, then player dot x plus plus. So basically, if we try to move right after hitting the right key, we first check if the tile next to the player is a hashtag or not. And if it is, then we don't allow it. And our logic is basically going to be the same for the other directions here. So, and map player y, and then player.x minus 1 does not equal to hashtag, then player.x minus minus. If is key pressed, let's do key down. So if we hit the down arrow, then we extra bracket here, I think. Okay, and map player.y plus 1 player.x does not equal to hashtag, then player.y plus plus. And if is key pressed, key up, and map player.y minus 1 player.x does not equal to hashtag, then player.y minus minus. Okay, and let's see. Okay, so we can move around the screen here, move around the map, sorry, and we can't move past these hashtags. All right. That's pretty cool. I think this is a great place to stop this first video, and we will pick it up in the next one. If you like what you see, just subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below, and I will see you in the next one. Have a good day, everyone. Peace.